Area is a topic that can sometimes be intimidating, but it doesn't need to be. Basically, the area is the measure of the amount of surface in a region. Think of like an area, rug, carpeting, things of that nature, putting it on towel. It's a two-dimensional concept. So you'll see square inches, square feet, square miles. If your answer is 5 square feet, that means it would take 5 squares that are a foot by a foot to cover that particular region. Two main shapes that we usually will use in illustrations when we start out talking about area is the famous rectangle and circle. Area of a rectangle is length times width. Yeah, that's right. You multiply just the two numbers together, and that will tell you how many square units are in that particular region. When you're dealing with a circle, you just have to remember that guy pi comes up into play. We're going to use the approximation 3.14. Check with your instructor as to what approximation they would like you to use, more decimal places, or just the 3.14. Now it's the radius squared, pi r squared. Remember, the radius is the distance from the center on out. We're not talking doubling, we're talking square, literally times itself. Order of operations, you would always do the exponent first, then you're going to multiply by 3.14. Now, how complicated can it get? Well, you have to stay on your toes. Let's take a look at a circle. One thing that could happen, here we have our nice generic circle. It is a 6 feet measurement across. That means our radius is 3. Right? Because I know some of you are thinking, what happened to the 6? Remember, 6 is the distance across. The formula is pi r squared, the radius squared. It's 3 from the center on out. So 3 squared is 9. We're going to take the 9 times 3.14. Be very careful. Watch when you're punching it into your calculator. Also, label. You have to make sure, put your units. You can't just put a number hanging out there. It has to be labeled. And not feet, but remember, it is square feet. We're talking surface area. Attention to detail will go a long way. Now here we have sort of an irregular kind of object. We have a rectangle that had a sort of notch taken out of it. Sort of a half circle was taken out. To find the area, you're like, it doesn't quite fit an exact shape of something we know, but it does go back to some that we do know, the rectangle and the circle. The whole entire rectangle, if it didn't have that little notch out, would be the length times the width, 2 inches by the 0.8 or 8/10 of an inch. That would come out to be 1 6/10 of a square inch. Again, you can see the drawing, not drawn to scale. I enlarged it so we can see it a little bit better. If we had the whole entire circle, that would be pi r squared, and the radius would be 0.4. 0.4 times 0.4, and then times it by the pi, you would get 0.5024 square inches. You would have to cut that in half to get the area of half of the circle. When we would go through and subtract the whole entire rectangle and notch out half of a circle, we would get 1 3,488 10,000ths of a square inch. So remember that it always goes back to what you know. If you hit an irregular shape, go back and break it up into shapes that you do know how to find the area of. And again, attention to detail. Make sure you label your answers correctly, and you'll be okay.